So I started with resounding yes, you can do it. So what needs to be done, right? So provided you have read basics of polity, economy, geography, environment, agriculture, modern history, ancient medieval history, some science and tech, provided you have some basic understanding of everything, and even then reading and taking coaching, if your scores are not improving or you are not seeing the desired marks that you want to see, right? So there are basically two reasons. One category of candidates are those are so busy in reading, revising, listening to classes, watching videos, they have forgotten that there is something called practice, right? So either they take up practice in the month of February or in March or in April, somebody after listening to this session maybe, somebody no practice at all. So another category, they do practice but in such a way that it is haphazard, they randomly take one mark here and there, they do it, there is no regularity, there is no consistency, and there is no plan behind how they practice mock tests. So the first category of student, they are good with the knowledge component. You ask them a question, they'll be able to say something about it. But what they lack is the skills component. So you see that you are doing so much hard work, but however, you are not seeing proportionate increase in your preliminary marks, right? I have seen people, with 3, 4 attempt, so they are continuously in this loop of preparation. So they listen to classes, attend classes, they keep on getting knowledge, but somehow their scores are stuck in 70s, 80s. And there is another category of students who don't read much. I have seen these toppers of people, those who give interview. So when they have only 1 month, or earlier it used to be 1 month, now they have 1 week, 2 week before the preliminary examinations. Now people who have interviews in the month of May, they are also preparing for prelims, both prelims and since their mains result came out. So when some of them were coming and asking me, now I have 2 months for interview, but at the same time 3 months for, like 2 months for prelims as well. Now how should I balance? I would tell them, you just go and give random mock test once in 3 days or once in 4 days or once in a week. So when some of them gave mock test and came back and told me their scores, usually range around 90 to 110. Even without preparation, these people are, when they are giving, they have just written mains, they were in this intense preparation mode, knowledge is not an issue, but because they've already cleared prelims, they are good in the skills component. So even without revision, even without studying anything, they have the ability to apply logic, common sense, some of the skills that they have accumulated over the period of the preparation time, and still score, which means getting around 55 questions right out of 100 questions. So they are able to get 50 to 55 questions right without any kind of revision or focused preparation. Now, can you improve that aspect right now when you are 25 days behind the schedule? So when you have only 25 days for the examination. So I believe one can actually improve it, provided again you have the knowledge component. So for that, how to go about it? So in that Quora post, I had written that now is the time not to sit with your Lakshmikant book, read it straight for 4 to 5 days. Morning to evening, you take up Lakshmikant or any book. So 3, 4 days, polity you read morning to evening. You feel like you're revising, right? Again, underlining, tearing the paper, coloring it. Again, you're taking up your notes, reading it again and again. No, that is not the way ahead. So don't do that. So instead, what I recommended is that solve 400 to 500 questions in a day, right? It looks extreme. Somebody commented, पागल है क्या ये? अभी कोई बोला यहाँ पे भी. ठीक है. So is he mad that to solve 400, 500 questions in a day? Last month when I took, I was talking about 200 questions, the session, APEC, orientation. So now it is inversely proportional to the number of days you have for the examination. So what is the logic behind 400, 500 questions? It definitely works because next year some of the IPM students, so there were two students who are working in Bangalore in Samsung. So they had read this post, just 1 month before. So that person was in similar situation. Somehow he believed in it. So he was following the same approach, reading textbooks morning to evening, revising them, trying to revise all the notes, watching videos and all. But suddenly when he saw the post, I think it made sense to him, both of them, both boys. So they started doing this 400 to 500 questions. So when the prelims result came out, when both of them cleared, they actually brought sweets, saying that if I hadn't read your Quora post, I would have failed in this prelims. They actually said it. And there are so many people within our OGP classes in the institution for whom it has actually worked. Now, what is the logic? So what I believe is that you have to rely in the preliminary examination on this factor, the factor, the mindset which is unafraid of facing the uncertainty, right? The mind which is not at all scared about facing any question that looks unfamiliar or that looks a bit difficult, right? So when you have complete calmness, when you're looking into the question, so what works most of the time is not just the knowledge component, right? It is the complete set of experiences, the complete set of experiences that you have gone through around that topic or subject, right? It can be school textbook, it can be the book you are reading, then hundreds of thousands of questions that you have solved on them. So that is what actually helps in that moment. And 3-4 years, that is the nature of the paper that UPSC is setting. And it is undeniable fact that the underlying philosophy in the UPSC examination is to face how you respond to a situation, how you respond to a completely uncertain, unpredictable situation, how dynamic your thinking. Will you be able to adapt fast to an uncertain situation? So that kind of thinking, with conscious thinking, the UPSC is setting the paper, right? So they want to completely destroy any kind of rote learning that is taking place. So new education policy, I mean that kind of thinking is slowly percolating at every layer now, right? So UPSC understood it like 3-4 years ago, and in mains also that element we see in terms of few questions. Again, essay, you take the entire paper, GS 1 to 3, they know that in mains there is not much scope to set completely out of the syllabus paper, but essay and ethics are two papers where there is scope, especially essay paper, right? Now essay is the game changer and optional to some extent ethics. These three are the game changers. And then comes the interview, which is completely, you cannot, you can predict the question, but you can never predict their expectations, right? So people, for the very simple question why IAS, you have so many variations. For the question why do you want to become IAS, people get unsettled. So why do you have gap since 2014? Why do you have gap since 2015? People get unsettled, right? If you understand this underlying philosophy and then change your mindset when you take up something, right, to answer that question which is unexpected. And how will you know as a candidate? We always think linearly in unidimensional way most of the times, right? So you take one chapter, you are focused into consuming any information that is given under that chapter, right? So very rarely you will extrapolate that chapter into what is happening right now to the current affairs, or you will extrapolate it to some historical development, you will extrapolate or correlate with parallel concept in another subject or something. This interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary thing, that is also mainstream nowadays. So much discussion is happening. We don't do that, right? You are busy. If there are 10 points under certain chapter, you want to read, revise, make notes out of these 10 points, and then you want to condense, dilute it, and remember it, right? So in a way, it is shrinking what you already know. But now the prelims is not that thing. Concept wise, that is fine. You understand the core concepts, in that way it is fine. Now, when I am setting the paper, I am very sure that you have done this thing, right? I cannot directly ask this question. So let's say a few fundamental duties are there, which fundamental duty is related to something that I know that you have learned through some memorization or some process. Now I want to link it with some other concept, right? Some maybe like some societal morality, some culture or tradition thing. I will link some other subject, maybe history, maybe social society or something like this. Now you don't have time to do that kind of research, right? To study in that manner. Got it? When people ask why we should read NCERT, my answer is that NCERT is, a syllabus explained in detail actually. The UPSC syllabus explained in detail with some hints to all the topics. It is basically a framework. So they have 3 pages of information on Buddhism, right? So now you cannot completely rely on only those 3 pages of Buddhism for you to solve any question on Buddhism, right? So any keyword within those 3 chapters, any key, it can be key philosophy, concept, word, or anything. You should have inherent curiosity, inquisitiveness to know something more about it. So this is the second aspect that UPSC is testing. One is how you respond to uncertainty. The second, are you a curious human being? Are you inquisitive enough? Right? So that you want to learn more, you want to apply that learning to solve a problem. So that unpredictability is tested through this aspect only, right? Whether you were curious during preparation or not. Now again, you don't have time to be more curious right now, right? You cannot be curious. I mean, you should be curious, but you cannot be curious right now. So there comes the role of these questions. So 400, 500 questions will take care of these extra dimensions, right? So what you want to be curious is somewhere asked in the form of a question, right? So when I say you have to do 400, 500 questions in a day, so let's say you start with Indian polity, right? You want to revise. So fix 2 to 3 days schedule for Indian polity. Have a target of minimum 1500 questions in Indian polity. It is achievable. So कितने घंटे पढ़ते हो आप लोग? How many of you badly wants to clear prelims? Like at any cost, I want to clear prelims. Almost everyone, 99%. So what is the sacrifice that you are ready to make? What? Now UPSC is such a honest body. Even if you give like 1,000 crores, taking loan from Anil Ambani, not Anil, Mukesh Ambani, right? You cannot get the paper. You can never get the question paper. You take the truckload, like Pushpa movie dekha hai, truckload of money and go to UPSC. They will call police and send you to jail. No, that's an excellent thing about UPSC, right? That is the amount of faith we have in UPSC. Doesn't matter how rich or how poor you are, it's a level playing field. So now, what is the other sacrifice that you are willing to make? Time. Like you want to, yeah, correct. Comfort. So you want to sacrifice your comfort. So you have been doing that in a way, right? But now you are in a situation where you have only 25 days. right? Honestly, like when you take 100 questions, how much time it takes to solve these 100 questions when you're completely focused? 1 hour, 1.5 hour, 1 hour 45 minutes. You are already giving good 5 hours. Okay. So it might take 1.5 hour or even let's say 2 hours. 2 hours into 100 questions, 10 hours, right? So in that you can divide 400 GS and maybe like 50-60 questions CSAT also. CSAT you must do every day, right? Last time I said 20-30, this time I'll double that number, right? Because CSAT you cannot take it for guaranteed, granted. The same logic is there in CSAT also. The kind of passages they are giving. So there also they want to destroy rote learning. Anybody who has presence of mind, anybody who is capable of responding to that tense situation in a very calm manner is the one who is actually getting the advantage in preliminary examinations. I am sure everybody has minimum knowledge to crack this examination tomorrow itself, right? Out of 100 questions, you can easily get 50 questions right. Let's say 45 questions. 45 to 48 questions is what is required, right? So that much knowledge you already possess right now in this moment, right? So what comes into picture is the personality, the attitude, aptitude you have, right? So again, it can be improved with this intense practice. Now, what is missing is the people don't work about their personality. Now, how you are going to respond. So in interview, I train that aspect. So when people come for interview, I prefer one-on-one mock because I have the freedom to go for multiple mock interviews. So the reason I do is that the same logic of practice. So you identify one problem and then you have to eliminate. Some people have the problem of being nervous in the beginning, right? So as soon as they come and sit, so they have the problem of getting nervous for 5 to 10 minutes in the beginning, and then they slowly become normal. And some people have the problem of facing a very difficult question and then becoming nervous. They're calm, perfect. They know that they can answer anything, but suddenly I ask unexpected question, they become nervous. Something related to their core field, academics or their hobby or their work experience or their masters. You ask some question, a very basic question, so suddenly they get nervous. So on the other day, I have this habit of asking very basic questions. So for somebody who had done MA in development economics, I just ask him to define development. Just ask him very simple question, define development. The very first question, he got nervous. He knows he had done MS, written thesis about it. But the moment I asked, he went blank. Development. He finally arrived, but after 1 minute of saying so many complicated words, he arrived at what is definition. So what is development, right? So you have to train them. So how do you overcome, this aspect? So you go through, you have done MSc or MA in PhD in something. Can you just brush up all your basics? So the very basic, define economics, right? I ask people. So define human development. So define social capital. There are people who have option sociology and everything. They go blank when you ask very basic conceptual questions because their mind is so occupied with only reading the advanced stuff, they forget the very basic concepts. It is implied. It is not that they don't know, but they try to give implied definition. They try to discover definition in that moment, right? But they have never gone through the basics. The same problem we see in prelims when people know everybody wants to read so much of current affairs. Three sports question came now. So everybody knows so much about sports nowadays, right? So that is the herd mentality. So let 5 questions be there in sports, but you don't have to read everything related to sports. So current affairs, I don't know what is this madness with current affairs, right? Sometimes things like, did we create this or so was it always there, right? Current affairs, like people, how to study current affairs, what to study more. You have seen very clearly last 3 years, what is the trend? Do they ask more current affairs questions or Has done any, somebody might have done some research here, right? Segregating questions. How many questions were there from polity? Economy? 18 to 20. So how many of them current affairs? 17 questions. 70 is to 30. 30 around current affairs. Okay. Some of them. Bouncer questions. The bouncer question मतलब? Factual question. So purely factual question. So bouncer question है. ठीक है. So from where did that question come? ठीक है. So now that is the problem here. So now 30% current affairs are there, some hybrid questions are there, some bouncer questions are there, some completely weird questions are there. Now next year people focus is on this 30%, right? At the cost of the 70%. Now they are so scared, they want to be like, have you ever realized this aspect that, when you want to go to prelims, you are in the mindset that you want to answer all 100 questions. So people subconsciously have that notion they should be good in all 100 questions. When you want to go to write prelims, you have this thinking unknowingly that, so that is why you are scared of 3-4 questions coming here and there. If you are not afraid of, if you don't have that notion of, to solve all 100 questions, you are never scared of these 3-4 questions, right? So that is where the smartness comes. Smart individuals I have seen some, when I have the opportunity of, talking to complete fresher, somebody who has written mains, thousands of them, hundreds of them, people are giving interview. So I ask about them, like, how did you prepare for prelims? मुझे पूछना है ना, इनसाइट टेस्ट सीरीज लिए थे या नहीं? So then I ask, how did you prepare? They say, no, I didn't buy your test series, something. तो दुकान से खरीदा क्या? Then say yes. And then I saw this and that. So they say, I asked this question, did you study sports? So नहीं sir, I सिर्फ फुटबॉल खेलता हूँ, मैं देखता नहीं. So medieval ancient history, I completely left it, sir. So some smart people, they said they know what to avoid, right? So if you really find your weakness is ancient or medieval, my suggestion, read enough what is there in NCERT level and forget it, right? Now don't buy suddenly book, some other publisher, right? So suddenly they realize, there is a big book on only Supreme Court cases, there is a mains question on Supreme Court case, and there is a book on all Supreme Court cases. One question on disaster management and then big book on design. I have seen that, these books like us, they go on getting fat every year. So you should know what to avoid. So my suggestion, within current affairs, I'm sure you have been told by your various teachers in your institutions here in classes what to do. So if you closely analyze the current affair questions, they ask only those questions which have direct implication for you and the nation, right? The science and tech question you analyze, there are questions on pollution, there are questions on climate change, right? So these questions are not like completely out of the world or out of the blue, jo bolte hain na, they are not like that. We can actually, while reading current affairs itself, we can easily filter which issue is more important. You are very familiar with the issue when you look at the prelim questions, it is not completely alien. So within current affairs, don't read compilations end to end, right? So the best thing you can do is maybe you can solve quiz compilations, but within current affair compilations, only go with those big issues which have implication for your life and the life of the nation, the population as a whole, for the planet, right? So you can actually filter those issues and only them you study. I mean, it doesn't take, I think, 4 or 5 days to do this exercise by spending few hours. Remaining focus on the basics, the static component. So out of 17, 18 questions, I am sure like 14, 15 are static only in polity, right? In economy, there may be 8 to 10 questions straight from concepts. Environment, similarly, right? Environment, somebody solved 14, 16 questions were there. How many? 16, around 16 questions. So I'm sure around 10 questions are related to static. So if you actually count, around 40 to 45 questions are conceptual, purely static in nature. So if I am an aspirant today, I would focus my energy more on this because they are predictable to some extent, right? If you strengthen your concept, if you do around hundreds of questions around those particular concepts from various dimensions, you are actually ready to face those questions. Now suddenly you have the tendency to diversify sources. Now you want to read our current affairs, their current affairs, all these current affairs, and then within these, uh, you know, people keep releasing resources. You keep buying them. Try. You want to be familiar with the content part, right? So please avoid the tendency. So deepen your understanding, your knowledge in the key themes. See, within polity, I'm sure the questions are not random, right? So there is a people have taught about it. So there is a trend, there is a theme within polity, within economy where they touch these questions. And if you have closely analyzed all the UPSC question papers, NDA, CDS, CAPF, IES, civil services question papers, right? The themes remain same. The degree, the difficulty of the question keep changing in most of the times. Broadly, the themes will be same, right? The questions are not really exotic or out of the world kind of questions. So we, in these 25 days, when I say 400 to 500 questions, what is the source of these questions, right? Primarily it should be these examinations. Got it? So in Telegram channel we are giving like 5 questions every day, just for people to understand they are good questions. You can take up these question banks from these previous years. So segregate all polity questions or economy questions. Be in and out familiar with this UPSC language through these questions. So you learn the concepts, you will familiarize the language of the the UPSC. And last 5 to 10 days, you have to stop doing any mock test, the mock test of institutions. Till then, you do institution mocks combined with UPSC mocks. But last 5 to 10 days, I've seen people, because you're so used to solving one institution mock test, you can easily predict which option is right or wrong, right? So if you've done so many mocks. So you cannot apply the same logic in real UPSC examination, right? So my personal suggestion has been never apply tricks, cheat codes in UPSC examination. People come with videos, cheat codes, tricks and all. So my suggestion is look at the question as a one unit, right? It has its own demand. It is demanding something from you, right? Respect the question, understand. So don't disrespect the question by all options are right. Science and tech question I'll put D, right? So do you think UPSC is like kind of stupid? Like not, they are aware of all these things, right? They have a big research team. So you have to respect the question, apply your mind, understand the demand of the question, using all your, so when you are calm and focused, every ounce of knowledge, every ounce of experience, wisdom you have will come to your rescue, right? When you are completely calm and focused, when you are focused on bringing the best out of you, that happens when you are calm. So these questions will actually melt, these problems will melt away and become, you'll find the solution. And the beauty of all these objective tests is that that answer is in front of you, right? The answer is in front of you. It is not like mains where you are given question and you have to scratch your head or anything. The answer is right in front of you. So all you need to is eliminate the clutter, right? Anything negative, eliminate it. So look at the positive. So how does it happen? It is related to again personality, in my opinion, right? So now and then I don't read much. I am weak in content. So now and then I take these random questions. I try to apply this principle. Believe me, out of 5, I still get 2 to 3 right. Even without knowing any, I am not updated as you guys, right? I don't teach polity, economy, geography, or anything. So I have forgotten except basic concepts. But I apply this principle because the residual knowledge is somewhere hidden in your subconscious. The category I was talking about, those people who give interview, right? So when I was preparing, I used to just, we had brilliant tutorials at that time, 2006-7, right? So I used to only solve these questions in and out, and UPSC question papers. That was the only source of preparation, right? So that is the thought behind we starting these multiple. Do you think people had these many mock tests before insights came? No. So the person who is standing in front of is the person culprit basically, who introduced 30, 40 tests in a test series. So earlier we used to have like maybe 5 to 10 tests before 2011 or 12. Even in mains test also used to have 5, 6 mock tests and then done. So it was me who introduced like 25 tests, right? So I am the founder of InsightsIAS, Vinay Kumarji. If somebody is wondering like who is this person, right? So no, strangers also come, no, sometimes. So we have to introduce ourselves. Uh, so because the underlying principle was the realization that practice is required, right? So that is why the secure answer rating, everyday answer rating. And in the beginning, it was like lottery. Those people were following website, secure initiative, and everything. People were actually scoring really very good marks. We got hundreds of ranks. Now, like suddenly, some DC says that I followed your secure initiative on Twitter. So under my comments or something, they say I'm indebted to you, your website, something like this. So people have become district collectors and all through practice, right? So somewhere when there is multiplicity of sources, when too many people come, the things get confused, right? You stop following one source. It can be anything, and because of this inherent insecurity, the fear of losing out, right? So which is again the source of which is again kind of herd mentality. You start to do bit of everything, right? So that is the bane here. So that is the problem here. So you have to understand what is the clutter, what is the unwanted things, focus on what is only required. This exam is a cakewalk, right? It is actually a simple exam. Read NCERT, current affairs, then become hmm, IAS officer. Did anyone import any big book from America for any subjects? Polity, right? Economy, right? So IR in mains, do you read books by Henry Kissinger? No, you don't read, right? The books you read are actually insult to your intellect. I mean, that is what you people are doing, right? But we complicate them. The thing is, we don't look at it from a very simple perspective. We are complicated it. So the knowledge component has overpowered everything else, right? So that is the problem. So you have stopped seeing your own individual potential, the ability. So people who are winning gold medals in their universities are struggling to score 70, 80 marks in the silly tests. The thing is, it's about you know losing the focus. What is important, you have forgotten. Something within innate, you haven't developed it. The skills, your innate ability, you haven't given an avenue to excel, make it perfect. So that is where the practice component comes. So you have to believe in it. So now there is no alternative. That's what I asked. What are you willing to sacrifice, right? The sacrifice is nothing but some amount of comfort and spending more time. The comfort includes some sleep and everything, but if you can invest more time and strengthen this ability to face uncertainty, right? So you are the winner. So on an average, how many questions you are solving in a day? Give me honest answer. 100, 200. How many 100? Okay. So around one third of you. How many less than 100? Oh. So others more than 100. Okay. More than 100? Okay. Have you seen any difference when you do more than 100 or 100 questions? Hmm? So how does it affect your preparation? Hmm. Hmm. So how much marks are you getting in mocks? Hmm. Take it. Hmm. Insights का दूसरा. Hmm. Okay. Good. So on an average, you are getting 90 plus, 100 plus. Good. It's an improvement than your previous score. So what about others? Those who are doing intense practice is. Mm-hmm. So you tell me why elimination becomes easy when you solve so many mock tests. You people are all, you treat it as an interview question, you answer it. It becomes muscle memory. Who said that? Okay. Good. Huh? They become very familiar. Okay, then you'll be able to interconnect. Okay, maybe. Yes. Hmm? Language becomes familiar. Time management. Yeah. You know the instinct. Correct. So I have a logic for this explanation. So let's say there is a question on citizenship, for example, right? So you have read citizenship chapter from a book. So 2 pages of information you have studied. Now let's say through mock test or something, you have solved like 20, 30 questions on citizenship. So suddenly in the preliminary question paper, you see a question on citizenship, right? So it has given like 3, 4 options, and then you have to select which one is the correct, right? 1 or 2 or 1, 2, 3 or 1, all the above, something like this. But you have to eliminate, right? So when you solve 20, 30 different questions on citizenship, you have subconsciously or consciously, 20, 30 ways to eliminate options here. When you look at the question, so 20, 30 ways to eliminate it actually. So people don't realize this. So the more number of questions you solve on one topic, more number of options either to select or either to eliminate, right? So this is a very important insights, right? So if you consciously do it for more important topics, 99% accuracy rate will be there in those kind of topics. You'll get them right. So I usually suggest 80% of accuracy rate whenever you go for a mock test, right? 80% accuracy rate should be your target. So when we say 400, 500 question, what I mean by is that these are you take question, you go on solving them, right? May not be like in exam like situation, but just to find ways to eliminate, try to apply whatever you learned. And maybe once in a 2 days or 3 days, you can take a actual mock test, right? The open mock test which we are conducting. So you can come to the classroom. Those tests you give it as UPSC exam like test, go back and read solutions in detail. But these 400, 500 questions which you are doing on a daily basis, if you cannot sit and study all the solutions, right? It is impossible. So only the weirdest questions, completely new question which you come across, maybe you can just glance through them, right? So you have already read everything you wanted to read. Now again, don't be in the race to again read again and so many things. So it is basically the focus. Understand that the only intention is to sharpen your skills, right? Now not to gain knowledge again through these questions. So if again the priority is right, then you will not be burdened by this. You'll get burdened when you feel like 500 I have to read again 500 so much, right? Then you will leave it and then you will reduce the number of questions. If the focus is no, I want to strength. As I said, elimination improves it, 100% improves. I mean, it's very simple logic, right? So should somebody come and force you people to do it?
Pretty much when we are solving the four questions. One is solving the questions. I used to have a SWOT analysis. Weakness, opportunity. After this, suppose my weakness is that I'm solving rich questions, and keep wrong. Then I'm making my room and then making notes and then revising them and thinking and collecting more information. Then again, when I'm putting, suppose same question I ask rates different way, but it's again going to be correct. So what I'm focusing on that the theme. Suppose some particular theme is my weak part, and I know that's my weak part. After solving three, four mock, doing that, and again, it's incorrect after getting a lot of information. Then actually I'm planning how I should strategize and get it.
Okay, good. So, will you do that? Or still? So, if you want a middle ground, still like 250, 300 questions, there is another strategy too for this. If you really find it difficult, that some people are there, I haven't really actually revised the textbook, I want to do it again. So 70% of the day you spend on question, 30% of the day again take the question textbook. Like 2 to 3 days polity, but 70% of the day you are solving questions. Then again you take the reverse, but it is reverse. Not don't read textbook first and then go for the questions. Right? First do the questions, and then at the end of the day you take the textbook which you have been reading, the same textbook, again read it. Right? You will see that you will understand it this even more better. So when you go for this approach, if you have a fear of losing out, so if not, my suggestion this 25 days, next 15 days, as many questions as possible, right? Through previous year questions and combination of our question banks or like any mock tests that are happening. So last 10 days, UPSC questions, at that time, you must compulsorily go back to textbooks once again. Last 10 days, right? At that time, 50-50 it can be. 50% of the time, only UPSC question. Don't touch single mock test paper during that time, right? Only you pick up last 20 years questions, as many UPSC questions as possible, right? So one day, one topic you can do it. So one day polity question you do like maybe 400, 500 questions again. Another day you take environment. So there may not be those many questions from previous. So they will decrease, right? Art and culture you will get maybe 100, 200 questions. So then half the day or more than that, you again revise your textbooks at that time. Got it? So this should be the strategy. And regarding mindset, training your mind, not to be scared about, not to be, to face uncertainty, not to get anxious. People lose out. Does anyone lose sleep before the exam? You don't sleep. You don't sleep one day before the exam. What? Partial sleep. Okay. So like few hours of sleep, or like you sleep but you're not sleeping. That mind is, the deep sleep is not there. Okay. So why does that happen? Anxiety. So what is the source of anxiety? Thinking about results. So it will take to philosophy, motivation, which I don't want to talk about it. Right. So to put it very simply, the focus, as he rightly said, the result, outcome, right? So it's a long-term process to train your mind to focus only on the process. In 25 days, again, if you solve only question papers, to some extent, you can actually train your mind to focus on the process. Again, if you go with textbook, only reading, revising, again, outcome, right? Because you're not training yourself for that. So how do you sleep? It is another day in your life. It is another day in your life only, right? So it's no special day. I don't know why people give. You might tell now he is like अच्छा कमा रहा है तो institution है, he can tell So something like that. But in fact, as an aspirant, I wrote 3 mains out of 4 attempts. So I used to treat things like this only. Cool, chill out. So Kavi life me will do something big, right? So that I have confidence even today also. Like this, if everything vanishes in 10 years, I can build bigger than this, something in whichever field it is. In fact, after 3-4 years, I want to get into farming and like do something big in farming, right? I mean that is the future. Like food easily नहीं मिलेगा तुम लोगों को future में, right? So the one who controls food and water will be the king. So in the future, right? So now सब education बोल रहे हैं. So when Elon Musk brings that neural link and implants in your brain, you have entire education in your brain, right? In the future, not in the immediate future. So you people will all be IAS and IPS officer, but for your children maybe. So you won't send children to school, so you'll get the chips, right? And पूरा encyclopedia भरेगा mind पे, and then it's about personality. People who can handle emotions, people who can handle people, right? People who can decide. So those things who are better, I think, are you getting this? I'm not talking something like scientific movie kind of thing, sci-fi. That is going to be the future. So this YouTube में ये video रहेगा ना, तुम लोग देखो. So after 15 years, right? So that is the kind of future we are moving into, more of human element oriented future, where your decision making abilities, your emotional stability, emotional quotient, right? So social quotient. So these will be the primary factors. So why did we come here? So why am I saying these things? So outcome oriented. Again, what is the link with this? Anyway, I don't know how I got it. I just sleep. How? What is the linkage of sleep with this? Exam? But again, what is the link with this? Huh? Yeah, right. Correct. I got it now. So I was talking about the confidence, basically. No, I was talking about confidence. If something like you people shouldn't be worried about the future, that was the logic. So if something goes negative, also there is so much ahead in front of you, right? It all depends on again realizing your inner potential.
We should feel that
There is no future.
we should live present.
So now I used to tell this 2 years ago, like live like a dead man. Assume that you are already dead, right? So you cannot kill the killed person, right?
Like, there is a concept of halal. UPSC is
Halal, no, don't go there. Halal and
UPSC से एक तरह से halal करता है हमको. One day exam और होते वो क्या करते हैं डायरेक्ट झटका आएंगे तो what is given there in Hindi.
all. ज़्यादा लिखते हो तुम. He is into writing and thinking, so good. So yeah, you made me forget what I was telling. Confidence. No, I am from you only. Like, just kidding. I'm happy that there are our people sitting in the class. People from South, right? So somebody will say activist here, so don't divide us. And in the interview, we tell people don't go with the activist mindset or don't go with, this so much of liberal thing and all. So I keep bringing about interview and all in between because I believe you people can actually reach there, and that is one of the solution to overcome the anxiety, right? Thinking distant about the larger purpose, right? Having the confidence that you will also reach that stage will take out the pressure on this particular thing. Thinking big is one of the solutions, right? Thinking big, maybe within this field or outside this field, that will take out the pressure. You just walk like a rocky bhai, like just like very casual. You just walk, and you have done all the preparation so far. You have nothing to be afraid of anything, right? When your preparation is sincere, on that day you must be the coolest individual in the campus, right? पूरा एकदम डरा दो सबको, so एकदम cool. So no reading again, no what they're also going reading and everything. You shouldn't be there. You watch a very good movie one day before your preliminary examination, go to sleep, next day. So nowadays everyone puts meditation as hobby, so you can do a little bit meditation, right? And then maybe read that day's newspaper, the Hindu magazine part, not the Hindu part, right? The entertainment part, and then just go to examination and apply all your focus. This is the ideal attitude to face the examination. Even on day-to-day basis also, that should be the attitude. So solving questions, don't keep imagining prelims and solve the questions, right? Feel happy about finding out a solution, right? Tomorrow as an IAS officer, if you given a problem, when you find a solution, you feel happy, right? And then you are given award also by Prime Minister, right? So now you feel happy about finding solutions. These are small things. Actually, I don't know if I'm making any sense to you people, but are you able to relate to what I'm saying? Right. So that is where you train yourself to face bigger challenges. Forget prelims, mains, and everything. Right. So when you think as a problem solver, right? When you get excited about facing a problem. In interview, if I've done 100 interviews, I see only 3 to 4 individuals who get excited when I ask them a very difficult question. Right. And I get so excited looking at those individuals. Seriously, I mean, it gives so much happiness to you. I ask them a question, they are not intimidated, they are not regretting, they are not feeling guilty, they are not getting anxious because they don't know. Suddenly you see, their face glows because they are getting to know something, right? This year I have done nearly 350 plus mock interviews. I have come across only 3 such individuals who gets excited. I told 210, 206, right? I mean, that very attitude, makes you happy. So that is what you need to become, develop. So then these mock tests, they step up and they all melt. Your problems will actually melt. You're not looking at a problem as a problem, you're looking at a problem as an opportunity. The moment you become like that, somebody who thinks these 100 questions, 500 questions as only opportunities, prelim is another simple opportunity, right? And without any pressure, without any kind of tension, you will score 100 plus. So become that individual, right? And there are opportunities in front of you, and you are all so mature, grown up. All of you read self-help books, watch motivational videos, right? How many of you do that? अच्छा मैं मत पढ़ो सो ट्विटर का नाउ आई एम बिकमिंग एन एक्टिविस्ट इतना गुस्सा आ गया वो बीपीएससी का पेपर लीक देख के आई होप आई एम नॉट वेस्टिंग योर टाइम लाइक ठीक है सो I can relate with what people go through. Like they go through 3-4 UPSC attempts, and suddenly they are focused into these state services, and there also this injustice, right? It takes 2 to 3 years, and it takes out your decade of your life easily. So when there is no system in place, that's a very unfortunate thing, and I'm so shocked that the Hindu hasn't even given small report in some corner about this paper leakage. Both are somebody said Delhi में एक दिन late आता है edition, so somebody commented on yesterday I posted. So मैं आज ढूंढ रहा था मतलब कहाँ पे? No, it is not at all mentioned in the Hindu today. So is it not a big issue? For me, it is bigger issue than Sri Lanka crisis, right? So वो resign किया, why do you have to put in front page, right? Hmm.
They didn't allow me normal watch. I mean, specific situation.
Analog watch.
They didn't allow me simple watch. But people in Korea and this paper was conducted after around 5 years. Last time it was conducted on, as far as I 24th December 2020.
Hmm. Anyway, it is issue for another day. Again, I try to link it with something, I have to sound commonsensical. So you people can solve this problem later when you become IAS. क्या जुगाड़ people क्या होते हैं?
Just finding the things how to leak the things. Actually,
अच्छा.
their work is basically.
Everywhere they are there, like हमारे insights paper भी leak हो जाता है. So what can wait. No, this test we are changing. Tomorrow जो step up test है, it is a completely new paper, right? If you score 90 plus, it's a very good score, right? So not we haven't made intentionally difficult or anything. So just wanted to give you that feeling of actually UPSC paper, right? So we have taken care of that. We give it's a very good paper tomorrow. It's a completely different set of questions, not the same as so the full length prelim test series. कल 2 chocolate दे देंगे. No, I cannot compensate for the time she lost, but so we had, I think, informed the pehla test. So that is what was the first test, the same test as this thing. So tell sorry from our side. What can we say, right? So tomorrow it is going to be a different test, and give this test as I said, whatever we discussed today with a sense of excitement, as somebody who is looking for an opportunity. So these are I'm not the person who will give you cheat code if you are coming with expectation. ऐसे question को ऐसे solve नहीं. So what I focus on the personality aspect. If your personality is strong, if you have developed those attitude, qualities, any problem in life is you can solve it, right? See, first attempt like current affairs, like for you also, for him also, every year it keeps changing. But as I told you, only focus on those issues which are important in terms of how they are going to affect. It's just like revision, samjho, but don't go with that, right? So, but in your own way, better to read current affairs. At least starting from now, you focus on only those areas. You today, Abhi, you go back and you look at last year and previous year current affair questions, right? Just aggregate the current affair questions and last 2 year current affair questions. You study the current affairs questions first, even as a first attempt guy, and then you will see some kind of relevancy, some kind of theme. So focus on those themes, not so don't again go by when somebody posts on the website or YouTube, these are the most important topics and all. So you cannot go with that. You have to use your own common sense, right? How to minimize. So how do you do that? How do you minimize negatives in examinations? So do you go by round wise or do you go with one round? How many rounds? 3 round. The first round where people mostly get around 90% accuracy, right? You attempt 20, 30 or 40 questions, you see that nearly most of them are right. And the second question is those questions where you have partial knowledge, like 50-50 kind of, right? So it is in these 2 questions that people get most negatives. And why do people get negatives? One aspect is that overthinking, right? Overthinking even in the simple questions. So to avoid negative, like, so when you come back and analyze the paper, you see that I knew the answer, somehow I complicated it. I overthought about this question. That is the common complaint we hear, right? And even in the silly question also it happens. So for that you should know way to control. Again, this brings me back to the mock tests, right? So when you are solving the questions, you should know where to apply the break to thinking. And actual UPSC paper is graded in such a way that there are very easy question, moderate question, moderately difficult, difficult and very difficult questions, right? And you have the tendency to apply same logic, same depth of thinking to all the questions uniformly. Have experienced this? So people tend to apply this overthinking, not overthinking, this they treat even the easy question on par with the difficult question.
Like in case of right to vote, was a legal right to read about RPS codes and things, but we still thinking it's hard to start a lot of actual things. Supreme Court judgments, we are thinking like
पूरा flash हो जाता है सामने, whatever it is, right? The in-depth thing. So that you have to prevent. You should know only through mock test again that you can. The second one is with respect to intelligent guessing, right? So that I have read the article on the website. Anyone? On our website, there are 2 articles: how to stop overthinking and how to do intelligent guessing. With examples, we have put the questions. Better you read those 2 articles, right? So there is no like single solution, to be honest. It is only your depth and the more practice, more familiarity with what is to be eliminated. As I said earlier, on one topic, if you are doing like 20-30 questions, I think that is the best solution to eliminate. And that you have to put into practice coming to the classroom. In the exam like simulated environment, you have to come and apply as many times as possible with physical OMR, right? And perfect conceptual clarity should always be there. So you're not ignoring the basics. So our faculty were like discussing the why people get into the advanced stuff. So somewhere we stop doing the basic things. NCERT people don't read it. We keep telling read NCERT. So how many of you have properly read the Indian Constitution at work? The 12th NCERT polity book. 11th. The name is the Constitution at Work, right? So how many of you have read it? So I see around 10 hands rising. So I tell people, I've honestly told people, for entire polity of UPSC, read only that book 3-4 times, right? Now I actually then solve hundreds of thousands of questions. The extra dimensions and all you will get through mock test. But the conceptual clarity that book gives you is unparalleled, right? So if at all you still want to read, you can spend like 2 days on that, right? 3 hours in a day. Just go through that book. All these basic questions, the philosophical sounding kind of questions, they are directly lifted from this book, right? Pardon? No, that is for mains and ethics perspective. Don't read that political theory, right? Only Indian Constitution Network, only that book, right? So polity questions, you will almost get, people get the advanced question right in polity. So the basic questions, people get them wrong, right? You read this book, the problem will be solved. So just go and read few chapters, you will actually realize. So similarly, introduction to macroeconomics, the basic concepts, right? And India and economic development, the NCERT book. So we keep ignoring the very basic books. We get carried away with art and culture. People ask, I tell only NCERT 6th to 12th. It is scattered within the history chapters, right? Art and culture. So that much is enough. And as I said, you have to extrapolate. So that is taken care through questions, right? We have hundreds of questions in culture and art and everything. So they will take care of it. But the basic conceptual will come only from these NCERT textbooks. So got it? So did you watch that last year we had released a video attempt, small video, 3 minutes? No. It has got 1.5 million views, right? एक ही video, the second video which got nearly 1, पहला video वो सृष्टि देशमुख का था. So she had come to felicitation, 2 minute का video था. So it got nearly so many views. After that, the meaningful video which has got was this prelims attempt. So we had created a movie, small movie for 3 minutes. How many of you watched it? Yeah, some half of you, good. So this year also I'm planning something like that. Just before prelims, we might, I don't know, on the schedule. Just to motivate you people. Motivation is very important nowadays. Right. Good. Any questions? Are you all confident? So how is your confidence? How do you rate your confidence with respect to clearing prelims this year?
Regarding confidence, there are times when I'm pretty confident that this year I can do this, but there are times when I'm in doubt because of my previous failure.
So how many of you have the baggage of previous failures here? That is weighing down, like pulling you back.
I feel that that was a previous. Why do you know that?
नहीं है, like इतना आसान नहीं है. ठीक है. So how do you address that? So what I believe is that the more failures you have experienced, the more wiser you have become actually. Right? Huh? Good. बहुत यंग एज में बहुत फिलोसफी सीख रहे हैं. नाइस. सो ये फिलोसोफर बना देता है यूपीएससी एग्जामिनेशन, हाँ, है ना? हाँ. So I respect those people who have failed most in the life. So they are the ones who know the life better than the ones who haven't actually failed, right? So you have to look at the brighter side of the failures. So सब philosophical हो जाते, मुझे डर लगता है कोई गाली दे देगा यहाँ पे. So when I start talking about, because only 25 days are there, we talk about these things, right? It's about individuality. Like you have to be very strong. And I personally I have developed that attitude. You fail, I feel happy, right? So because next something big is awaiting, right? So you have to treat it in a positive way. That's it. You have something to say? No. तुम्हारा philosophy बोल दो कुछ. Nothing. हाँ. See, it is not by the scores like in the test series. Through test series only you should know whether you are on the right or wrong track, right? So when you are solving the mock test, let's say you pick up only 50 questions. Now, to know whether you are absolutely in the right track, don't go by the knowledge component, that way for certain where you know the answers. The second round questions where you are doing 50-50, if you are getting maximum number of them right, that all the practice that you are doing, if it is being applied and you are getting them right, then you are on the right track, right? So that means something, if you are not getting this 50-50 of them more right, that means you are not on the right track. Something is missing. The something is nothing but most of the time it is practice. Correct. Hmm. Hmm. So again, for that, I think I heard that recently one of the tests by another institution, many people struggle to score even 70, 80. So some of the students are saying that it was very difficult. The one who was scoring 110, 120 suddenly dropped to 80s or something. Does it happen with you also? Sometimes. So now, even in those two diverse tests, which are completely different, to know how you are on the right track, you have to apply basically your common sense, right? Now, if you're very familiar with the previous year questions, the trend, everything, now somebody suddenly comes up with a test which is completely off track or absurd, you should know it. There is also a limit to thinking of in terms of setting the paper also, right? So just you cannot, because you know that the paper is getting difficult, you shouldn't find innovative ways to make it even more difficult. So anything within the purview of what is the expected lines on the UPSC, the themes, the pattern which is already there. Within that scope, if the paper is set difficult, and then if your skills are working, then you are on the right track. If the questions are completely different and then you are getting wrong, then you absolutely need not worry, right? Because in the actual paper, there are people who used to score 70, 80 and they have cleared the prelims, right? So ideally the innate ability, the logic, applying skills, analytical ability, jo bhi hai. So if that component is strong, then you should rely on that, right? The UPSC has a logic to its paper, and the test series sometimes ours or other test series might lack that logic, right? So you have to believe in yourself. So that is why I tell you, solve more of UPSC related question papers. If it is working there, your logic and everything, you are perfectly on the right path. So don't get affected by these mock tests and scores. There are so many questions, UPSC ka le lo karo. And I saw Indian Engineering Service, science and tech questions are very good questions in that. Indian Engineering, the prelims, they have like 10, 15 questions of science and tech. Somewhere I believe UPSC kind of asks those questions in different combination, right? May not be true, but those questions are of very standard level. So if you solve all SNT questions from there, and if your logic is working there, then you are absolutely fine. Fine. Did you have any other expectation that you wanted me to talk about? Why did you come here? Did I address them? Or you had some other expectation? You will give the question paper, and then you give the answer key, right? So,
Suggested to solve 400 to 500 questions. I normally solve 100 questions and spend 5 hours. So, it's not hard to lecture.
see, most of them you have already read, right? 10, 20 questions maybe, 10, 20 minutes. No, you just scan through them. You don't have to make notes, understand in depth and everything. See, that was, you were supposed to do that maybe 2-3 months ago. Right now, you don't have time for that, right? So you consider the less time aspect here. The focus must be more on practice. Now you don't have time. And anything you make notes, everything is not relevant, right? So now the best chance is for you to familiarize with as many concepts or as many questions related to one concept as possible through question papers. It actually don't be afraid, just put ABCD, just glance through quickly. Anything completely new you read, right? If you got it wrong, when you read the solution, you will remember it even after 1 month, right? So that is how you go on solving. Do as many mistakes as possible. You will remember as many things as possible. No. Only if it is very important topic that you have missed out. Like say fundamental right ka question you had missed out, then you make it. Otherwise, no. Any other questions? So don't ask after the class, please. Everywhere people have, after the class, some 3-4 people will come, and I feel the same I would have answered maybe here.
So irrespective of the, if we are scoring mostly 100 above, and in some tests, in this last test, where there are some open book tests, in 4-5 tests, if we are getting hanging in between 80 to 90 marks or 70 to 90 marks, should this be a case of concern or?
No, absolutely not. These step-up marks, again, including me, including our institute, everyone has the tendency to make it weird, difficult, show off, right?
Sometimes but this becomes little demotivating that we are consistently scoring almost above 100, but in this last month that we are lacking this test.
See, you treat it as a shocker before the real shock, right? Now you are becoming familiar with this, right? So that won't shock you because you are already electrocuted here. So you feel like, I faced the worst test series in this institution, so chalega. So don't look at the score, the experience part, right? So a similar thing happened with one of the candidates. I related with the interview. She went to a mock interview where they really ragged her. So some confrontation happened and everything, just like 7 days before the actual interview. So she was really worried, nervous, I mean, cried. She said, I had the worst experience. Right. So when explored, I came to know it was her fault. Right. So unknowingly she had confronted them. When defensive, argued with them, it shouldn't be done in the interview. So they got enraged and, became dominant and all these things. So then I told the same thing. It's good that it happened right now. Right. If I had done the similar thing in, real UPSC, it would have been disaster. Right. So it is good. Go through that experience. Hmm? Good. So all the best. Okay. So in Bangalore, I do 1 day before, 2 day before we do this session. पूरा भरा हुआ रहता, पता नहीं क्यों. So they think that I'll give them some sleep or something. So people come and I have a motivational session. So I don't know. Delhi people come? No. Delhi people don't come. I think if you do such a kind of a session. So anyway, Bangalore में जो करते हैं उसको YouTube में डाल देते. So you can watch it if you want. So believe in yourself, right? And all of you are bright, so wearing specs like me and all. So those who are not wearing, you are also bright. So believe in that, that's it. I know what I can tell. So in 25 days, you can definitely do magic. In your position, in the worst situation, if I were in your position, let's assume that my scores are not improving, I wouldn't give up till the last second. Right? I wouldn't give up. Even if it is working 18 hours or 20 hours, if somebody had said something like this to me, I would test it for 5 days. Chalo 500 bola 600 karke dekhte. We'll do 500 questions. Right? See it, test it for 3-4 days. If it makes sense, I will continue for another 15-20 days. Ultimately for my benefit, right? So and then that fighting spirit, till the last minute. So that is a most important thing. You all possess that stamina, energy, everything. It is just come out of your comfort. Use this classroom. No? You come sit here. Morning aaja 8 o'clock. Then go back around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Sit here, just फेंक दो वहां पे सॉल्व कर करके, ठीक है. You'll ask them to remove them. So have that attitude. Use the facility and just give everything you have. Why not? Improvement you will see within 10 days. So you do it for 10 days and give any kind of mock test, right? I can assure you your score will definitely improve 20 to 30 marks. You do this for 10 days, right? Give any kind of mock test, minimum 20 marks, you will see improvement. Whichever subject you solve question paper, like daily, आज polity कर दो 2 दिन you do. Start with economy, polity, environment, modern history, and some mix of this art and culture, the most important topics, right? 10 days, and give any mock test. If you don't see improvement of minimum 20 marks, legal agreement करेंगे हम, ठीक है? So you come and give me chocolates, right? So जो भी हम लोगों ने दिया है वापस दे दो बस, ठीक है? So this is a gesture of goodwill that we give people. Tired होते हैं, they send me a video, पूरा खड़े हुए बहुत खुश हुआ, दिल्ली में सेंटर में इतना लोग आके दे रहे, on the steps people are standing and all. I told immediately give water, chocolate and everything to these people. मुझे अच्छा नहीं लगता when some people अच्छा इसलिए नहीं लगता, मुझे डर लगता कि गाली दे देंगे. So to keep them happy we do small little things and we find happiness in doing little things, small things, ठीक है? So wish you all the best. Yes.
How do you keep enthusiasm for like
मुझे देखो. You can build something like this.
your personality
रियल है क्या? पहली बार देख रहे हो? नाइस, गुड. आई एम लाइक दिस ओनली. इन बैंगलोर में लोग बोलते रहते हैं. आई एम सेम सिमिलर. So see, looking at the life in a bigger way, that is the thing, right? So if you keep looking at the small things, small problems, getting worried about them, you are always worried about failures and you don't feel enthusiastic. I feel like that Rocky boy, like, you know.
Nice. In lockdown period, so you made a video there. You said that you also went through all this right now. We are feeling.
No, सबको होता है. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's about attitude only. Just be enthusiastic. Thanks.
My fifth attempt, and I have consistently felt fourth like.
Hmm.
But on the result day after, as soon as I checked the answer key after 2 days, so the score is minimum, the difference is minimum. But for 4 to 5 days, I think that I should skip the attempt and switch to state PCS.
Hmm.
But as soon as I start the state PCS, and after 15 days, the books get vanishes, and again these Lakshmikant and all UPSC comes up. So everyone will fail, and after 15 days, they will have to, or they will themselves recover. I think it's
True. Because कोई option ही नहीं है. People. No, it is good. Like, you know, you have to come back, but come back with a bang. See what mistakes you have done, analyze them, right? So always that comeback should be like, you know, chapter 2, chapter 3. So it should be like that. हम कर्नाटक के लोग आजकल she's happy. Pardon, sorry. हाँ. Hmm. 60 to 70 you are getting right. हाँ बस और अच्छा. So aiming for forest service also. ठीक है बस उतना. No, your thinking is good. So then you attempt less, no? So if you are getting around 60, right? That is the optimum number. My suggestion, never touch 90 in the present trend, the UPSC examination. So if you are getting like attempting, like, see, if you are getting 60 right out of 80 something, so see if we can minimize further 5 questions, so that the negatives 2 to 3 question, you know, you get right because of less negatives, and score can improve another 5 marks. So third round, as you know, through experience, your accuracy rate is less than 30-40% mostly, right? So it is better to avoid third round in my case. So anything you don't know absolutely, यहाँ पे UPSC में ऐसे होता है कि after you spend 1.5 hours, so you feel you are in the flow. Even, you know, you start taking irrational decisions. Even complete unknown question, mind ऐसा cheat करता है कि you feel like somehow you can get that right also, right? So you have to put the brake there. So learning to stop where, don't have insecurity when you attempted 65-70 question, if you're confident that 55 of them are right, 50 of them are right, stop it, right? Now don't force yourself to go beyond. सब ego wogo सब छोड़ देना चाहिए. So these are small irrational decisions, you know, which ruin your entire year of hard work. So that is where again the practice comes into picture. You can eliminate, do trial and error, everything, every mistake you want to do, you do in these mock tests and eliminate them, right? Good. So wish you all the best. I'm sure all of you will definitely clear this attempt because you have attended this session. And so before mains also we'll do one more session for you people to help you clear mains. And the interview, so आजकल I am popular with interviews. Anyway, will come. So wish you all the best. Thank you.